Look around you, different things born out of truth and passion. Business software, it's our craft, our identity. Thoughtfully engineered, passionately designed to help you transform your business. Zoho, made in India, made for the world.
You know, we thought there would be a bounce, and I think all the analysts were talking about it, but last half hour was mainly a Nifty Rejig which was happening, right? You know, and that's something which is interesting from a point of view that we saw nearly 10,000 crores of delivery happening in just InterGlobe and Max. From that point of view, while FIs were negative and DIs were positive, but that was something which is eye-catching, and that's primarily because all the funds, index funds, which are benchmarked to Nifty 50 and Nifty 100, were rejigging the entire thing in the last half an hour, where the VWAP trade happens normally, and we saw InterGlobe having roughly around 2.6% of the equity changing hands in terms of delivery, and 3.8% at Max Health. Two stocks that went out of the index were IndusInd, where we saw the equity change hands by 4.2%, and Hero Motors at 3.35%. So that rejig was one of the main reasons which is there going into the new index, which is going to be coming into play from today onwards.
Right. So that's, of course, with regard to the Nifty and the rejig that is at play there. Some movers as well on the Nifty on the back of that. And IndusInd was up yesterday, one of the top gainers, but excluded from the Nifty 50 now. Hero was also among one of the losers, and that too excluded. InterGlobe is the big inclusion, and we'll talk about InterGlobe in just a bit. Before we talk about absolute stocks, and there's plenty to speak about, Aisha, want to take us through how global markets have done?
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to wrap over there, given, while our markets have completely been ignoring what the global handover has been, or what the global markets have been up to, but just a quick snapshot of what the handover has been like overnight, and just walk you through what the US equity market has been, while the futures are just about very unchanged. But the handover was not all that bad. You had the Nasdaq eking out about over 100 points of a gain, marginally higher for the Dow. Similar was the case with the S&P. But yes, I guess the US equity market, given that the US government shutdown could make Fed's job harder now, and the clamor is definitely increasing a lot more. It almost seems like a deja vu of, I think, 10 years back, Sajid, when again the US market was headed in, or the government was headed in for a shutdown.
2018-19, when the shutdown was there for 35 days.
And everything came to a standstill.
But this shutdown is going to be different in some ways, because that time, when people came in, the jobs were secured. Now this is they're looking at 800,000 people going on furloughs, and nearly out of that, nearly 100,000 people would be laid off at the end of September. So they're not going to, and the expectation is that it's going to be much more when they come back after the furlough. And if you hear what the Vice President has to say, that he's saying that the shutdown is imminent and it's going to happen. And if that happens, you're going to have a lot of issues with respect to companies also. Look at from an Indian company's point of view. Many of the companies, we don't have Indian IT companies so much of exposure to the US federal, so that's not an immediate threat for that. But some of the companies like Sagility and all, which are into healthcare, they may get impacted, because if the furloughs come in and there's no healthcare which is there at that point in time, then that's an impact which will happen for them.
But at least for now, for the equity markets, there is no panic per se. I mean, look at the